Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Have a great one for you today. We're going to learn how to play all of Parisienne Walkways by the great Gary Moore. Now before I had actually covered just that little intro section, that little intro melody in a video long ago. But now I'm going back, I'm just going to do the whole song this time. So I'm going to redo that intro. So if you've seen that video, you might already know that part when I go through that in the lesson. But we're also going to cover all three solos. This is off the original version back in the late 70s when the Back in the Streets album. So it's kind of like a 3-minute in some certain version, not one of the live versions where he has a long extended outro solo that he does. I'm sticking with the original studio recording so we know this is one we're doing. So if you did a live recording, there's many of them out there, so you don't know which one I'd be covering. So let's stick with this one. So the solos are going to be a lot shorter in this one, but there's 3 of them, and then all the chords as well. All right, so before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and ring the notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And check out my Guitar Academy. You'll see the link in the description. That contains all of my guitar courses covering everything from basic beginner course to like advanced technique and improvisation, ear training, a guitar tone course. So I got a lot over there, and it's available across all app platforms. So click the link in the description. You'll get a free 7-day trial right now, and come join the community. All right, I hope to see you there. So let's start with this. We're in standard tuning, and we have that little intro here that has this. Sorry, turn it on. So that little section right there is just starting with slides at the 7th fret. So you pick the 7th fret on the D string and then slide it down. Same thing, 7th fret of the A. And then the same thing at the 8th fret on the low E string. And then it goes into that melody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach the melody first, and then I'll go back and I'll teach you the chord progression that goes on underneath it. All right, because it's pretty similar to the chord progression that goes throughout the whole song for the verses and stuff. But there's little variations all over the place. So I'm gonna have to cover them one by one. So this opening phrase sounds like this. All right, so we have a bend at the 15th fret on the B string. Then you're gonna pick 15 without the bend, and then 13. Slide down to 12. And turn that delay off, it might be a little annoying. Then we have, let's kind of rake into this 10th fret there on the B string, then 12 on the G, and 10 on the G. So we have this. Get as much nice vibrato on those notes as you can. And then, so that's the 12th fret there on the high E string, and then a bend at the 13th fret on the B. So all together, first phrase. All right, so now the second phrase looks like this. All right, so that starts with a bend at the 13th fret there on the B string. Release that bend, pick the 13 without the bend, and then slide from 10 to 12, and back down to 10. Then play 8 on the B string, over to 7 on the G, and then slide up to 9, back down to 7, and back to 9. And then we're going to go into a quick little rake across these strings too. It's really kind of based around this kind of a D minor triad here, across the 10th fret across the bottom 3 strings. But you really kind of hear just the top 2 strings. So just the kind of 10 on the B and 10 on the high E, just roll it over real quick. kind of that quick little rake sound to it, and then slide into the 13 on the B. So that second phrase. All right, now from there, we have this. So that's a hammer-on from 12 to 13 on the B. Then down to 12, 10. I'm sorry, you can actually slide into that 10, then play 8. So we have this. Then jump down here, play 6, 5 on the B, over to 7 on the G. Then he jumps back up here to the 13 and pulls off to 12 on the B. So I know that's kind of a lot of jumping around, but when you look at a lot of the live stuff, when he's actually playing the melody kind of pretty much like this every time, that's kind of how he does it. So that's why I'm kind of jumping around a lot. So we have this. Now the third, that hammer-on. All right, now the fourth phrase. So that's a bend at the 10th fret there on the B. And then pick 10 without the bend, then 9. Over to 11 on the G string. Then it kind of slide from 7 to 9 on the G, back to 7, down to 5. And then we're going to end it with that again. So all together for that intro. All right, so that is the main lead part. So now let's take a look at the chords underneath that. So it looks like this. So just kind of hummed along to the solo there so you can see where I'm at. So it comes in after that. We have an A minor chord, so we start with that. So by the way, I will say throughout this you're going to hear kind of the same progression played slightly differently. Sometimes he'll use a straight minor chord, and then another time through he'll change it into a minor 7. Same thing, sometimes you'll hear it just as a major chord, and sometimes he'll play it as a dominant 7 chord. So I'm just kind of getting real close to what he's paying attention to what he's doing on the original recording, not live. Live, he might mix it up even more. But so we're going to start here though with this progression that's pretty common that we're going to be playing throughout the song. It will be played a little bit differently as we go. So we have A minor. So the picking pattern is kind of the A string, the D, and the G, and then up on the high E, B, and the G. So we have that. Then it goes to a D minor 7 chord. So that's an open D string, second fret on the G, and then you're going to borrow the first fret on the B and the high E string. And the picking is just going to be down on the D, G, and B, and then up on the E, B, and G. So another 6-note pattern. All right, now we're gonna do the exact same thing for the next chord, except the bass note, instead of being the open D string, it's gonna be the 3rd fret there on the low E. So far, we have this. Goes to the C major 7 chord, which is just like a C major chord, but just pick up the index finger. So the picking now is just going to be like we did on the A minor. Pick the A, D, and G string downstrokes, then upstrokes on the E, B, and G. So we have this. All right, then we get to this F major chord. Now this F major chord later on is going to be played as an F major 7, but the first time you hear it, it's just an F major. So that's a bar at the 1st fret across the B and the high E again, 2nd fret on the G, and 3rd fret there on the D. So now the picking is still down 3 up again, starting from the D string, D, G, B, then E, B, G. All right, and then we get to a really cool chord. It's a B minor 7 flat 5. So we're going to be playing the 2nd fret there on the A string, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B, and 1st fret on the high E. So we still just have 4 strings that we're picking, so we're going to be that same picking pattern. We're going to now pick the A string, then the G, then the B. So those are the 3 downs, and then the 3 ups will be the E, B, and G again. So we have this. So you're picking through that chord twice, just like all of them so far. And then we go to an E7 chord, E dominant 7. So that's going to be an open E string, open D, 1st fret on the G string, and 3rd fret there on the B. So the same picking pattern, but just across those 4 strings. Down, 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 up, up, up. And it just stops there. When we go back to the, stops there on an A minor real quick, it does that little figure again. All right, and then we have the actual first first verse of the song. So this is when the vocals come in, and it's very close to what we just did, that chord progression. So it sounds like this. All right, so that right there is very similar. So we start the same A minor, same picking, D minor 7, and the one with the G in the bass, and then C major 7. So same thing we did earlier, same F major. So everything is played twice as normal. Then when we get to the B minor 7 flat 5, you only pick it through it once. And then instead of going to an E dominant 7 chord, it just goes to a standard E major. So all you need for that is the open E string, 1st fret there on the G, open B, and open high E. So that same 6-note picking pattern across those 4 strings. All right, now from there we have this. All right, so now we go from that E major chord, it goes to an A major. So that A major chord there, the easiest thing is probably the bar there at the 2nd fret there across the D, G, and the B. So open A string. So you're just doing that same 6-note picking pattern across those 4 middle strings. And then you're gonna add this next chord. Now, you could actually just do that bar across those top 4 strings because you'll need it in the next chord. So that next chord is the open A string, 4th fret there on the D, 4th fret on the G, 3rd fret there on the B. And what you do is you pick across all the way to the B string. then jump back down and pick the note that's on the D string, and then the high E. So we have this. And then back to that A major chord real quick. And then that takes us to the second solo. So let me show you that solo real quick, and then I'll go back and do the chords, which are very similar to what we just did that's going on underneath it. So here's that second solo. All right, so that right there got the classic, quick little ending that Gary Moore does a lot. So we're going to start here with this 14th fret there on the B string, then 15, 17, and then a bend at the 18th fret, couple of them, and then release that bend. So that's the first phrase. All right, pretty easy. The next phrase. Now those might not be unison bends. They sound kind of odd on the recording, so I almost think that they're probably unison bends. But either way, I think it sounds really cool to do them there, even if it's just a normal bend. Maybe it's just the echoes that on the recording that are making it sound like it's kind of a unison bend. But anyway, we have, that's 12, 13 on the B, and then pick that 13 and slide it into the 15. And then you're going to grab 13 on the high E string, and then here you can choose to do the unison bends or not. It's going to be either just a unison bend or holding the 13th fret on the high E, and then bending up the 16th fret on the B. And then do the same thing a couple times, 1 fret lower. Or just without the unison bend. So all together. All right, from there, the next phrase. So that is the 10, 12, 13 on the B, and then up to some bends at the 15th fret. Now release that bend. So again. And then the last phrase. All right, so that's going to start. So that starting with a G sharp, which I know is not in this key of A minor if you were playing natural minor, but he's doing the E7 there. So it's obviously still E minor, but he's moved to harmonic minor. So we have that works over the E7 chord. So that's 9, 10, 12 on the B, over to 10 on the high E string. And then we have that fast lick, which I'll kind of play through it slow real quick, and then I'll show it to you kind of note for note. All right, so that's going to be, start with a bend at the 8th fret there on the high E string. Then play 8, 7, kind of staccato. And then what we're going to do is play this. So that's going to be picking 7, hammer on 8, pull back off to 7, pull off to 5. And then you're going to go back and pick 7 and pull off to 5. So like this. Over to 8 now on the B. and then back to that 5 on the high E. So we have this. Then you're going to pull off 8 to 5 on the B string. So that's, I kind of look at that as like the first half. So this. So it's good to kind of maybe just get that underneath your fingers first. So just get that to where you don't have to think about it much. And then we'll do the second half, which is. So that starts with kind of a classic blues lick where we're going to start with a bend at the 7th fret. And then pick 5 on the B string, roll over to 5 on the high E. Then you're going to pull off 8 to 5 on the B. And then pull off 8, 7, 5 on the G string. So then you're gonna play 7 on the G, back to the 5 on the B, and then back to that 7 on the G string. So now when you get back to that 7 on the G string, you're gonna start a series of pull-offs. You play pull off 7 to 5, then 7 to 5 on the D, and then 7, 6, 5 on the A. And then slide down to the 3rd fret and do a slow kind of bend there. And then you'll hit an A major chord to end it. So we have that second half there. So all together, so we start with the bend. All right, so that's kind of difficult to get really up to speed. So I really recommend working on that first half, and then the second half, and then kind of start putting them together. That's kind of an easier way to kind of tackle it, and then break it up in bits. All right, so now we have the, as promised, the chords underneath that are pretty close to the same. There that we have that. So we have that. So, but it basically starts with a D minor 7 here when it gets to that bend up there. So he has, because no chords going first for the beginning of that solo, and then it comes in with this right here. Starts with just a D minor 7, and it's kind of the same from there. So just skip that opening A minor. Now here, when we get to the F, keep the E string open. So we're making that what was an F major chord earlier. Now it's an F major 7. All right, so then we basically go, so we get to the F major 7, right? And then it goes from that B minor 7, 5, 5 to the E. So just a regular E major chord there, not an E7, so that's open E, first fret on the G, open B, open I. And then we go, we have this quick little ending here in the solo. It's kind of odd. It goes like this. All right, so what that is just basically that A minor chord. And then what it does is open A string, the 3rd fret on the D, the 2nd fret there on the G, and then the open high E. And then a really quick 2 notes here, move up to the 4th fret there on the D, and then the 3rd fret there, 2nd fret on the G. So we have this. And then end it with that A major chord. And then that takes us to now the second verse. And there's a quick some little chords like this at the very beginning, and then we get kind of to the same chord progression again with a slight difference at the end. So we have this. All right, so that starts with this. Looking back. So that's the 6th fret on the high E string and the G together. And then hit that chord again, but now move that note on the high E string down to the 5th fret. And then it jumps to the D chord again to start here. But instead of a D minor 7 there just at the start, what you're going to do is just add the same chord as the D minor 7, but add the 3rd fret there on the high E string. And then resolve it down to that D minor 7. All right, then everything the same after that, for a minute at least. This is the F major 7 again in this second verse. And the B minor 7 flat 5 for this verse is played through twice, so pick through twice. And then from the B minor 7 flat 5, we don't go to an E now. We move that to a B dominant 7 chord. So move up to the 2nd fret, full bar at the 2nd fret. It's going to be now the 4th fret here of the B string and the D. So that picking pattern is just happening on the 4 middle strings. And we're going to resolve that to this. Which is basically an E major chord. And the note you're picking is low E, then the G, B, and the high E string. So that same with the E major chord. And then that goes to an F major. You could do it as a full bar, but you could just thumb it if you want. So it's just 1st fret there on the low E, 2nd on the B, second on the G, and then bar the B and the high E together at the 1st fret. And then back to the E major chord. And then that takes us to the 3rd solo. So now for this solo, before I do that, I'm going to actually do the chords real quick because we do have a new chord progression underneath this outro solo here. So these chords right here look pretty much the same, but we have a little bit different ending here. So see if you can pick it up. So it kind of repeats that to the end there as it fades out. So that's the same progression we did. This time with the B minor 7 flat 5, just pick through once to the E major chord. And then we get to basically a new chord progression that takes us out to the end of the solo. So that's based around that same picking pattern on A minor. And then this time when we go to the D minor, it's not a D minor 7, it's just regular D minor. So don't be doing that bar here. So we just have the open D, don't be doing. What does that mean? All right, so open D string, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B, 1st fret on the high E string. Back to that A minor. So it goes A minor, D minor, A minor, and then we have that F. So we just need 3 notes of it. So the first fret on the low E string, then the second fret there on the G, first fret there on the B. And then it goes to an E minor, not an E major. So E, open G, open B. So, and repeat. A minor, D minor, A minor, F, E minor, repeat. All right, so that's happening at the end of the third solo. So now let me just play the actual third solo for you real quick, and then we'll be done. So here we go. All right, and at that point, it starts kind of fading out there. So we have, starting with this bend that he really holds forever. Live, he just holds it for really ever. Gets the feedback going. But I don't actually have a real speaker in front of me where I can keep this going with. And then relax. So release that bend and go 15, 13, 12. And then, so that rake and that 10 on the B down to 12, 10 on the G. And then, so that's a quick little hammer-on from 12 to 13 on the high E. And then hold 10, and real quick at the end, hammer on that 12th fret. So we have this. All right, second phrase. So that's going to be bend at the 13th fret there. And then release that, and then kind of slide up 10 to 12, back down to 10, and then that kind of did this earlier. 8 on the B, then 7 on the G, up to 9, slide back down, slide back up to 9. All right, and then go back up to the 15th fret and pull off to 13 on the B. So we have this. All right, now from there we have this. So that's gonna a quick hammer on from 12 to 13 on the B. Then 10, 8, and then that's picking 6, and then pick 5, hammer back on 6, pull back up to 5, slide down to 3. Then jump up here to the 7th fret. Got a quick hammer from 7 to 8. Back down to 7. And then play 9, 10 on the B. And that's another note you're going to let ring out for a while. And that's when we really switch to the A minor, D minor, A minor, F, E minor progression. And that's when we have this. So that's going to be 8 on the B string, then 5, 7 on the high E, back down to the 8 on the B, down to 5, and let it ring. So and kind of the same thing, kind of the same pattern though. So we have 5, 7 on the G, over to 5 on the B string, roll back to 5 on the G, to 7 on the D. So with this. Then we go back to that higher pattern. So that's kind of the same melody. But when you get to that 5, slide up to 8 and back down to 5. And then the second melody is the same. And then when it starts to fade out, we have this. So that's just 14 on the D, 14 on the G, 13 on the B, into a couple bends there at the 15th fret, and then it, live, he just kind of goes off on it. So you can keep going too, just A minor, that's all you need. So just have fun improvising with A minor, and you can finish the track however you wish. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's an amazing song. It's kind of Gary Moore's signature tune, and he was just a monster. So fun to play his music. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.